Welcome into the B&T Sports Talk Show. I'm your boy T. Next to me is B, and we're ready to hit y'all with some NFL action, covering all the wonderful things happening in sports this week. Oh man, great day in the NFL, especially for my fantasy team. Thank you. I'm so glad I might win this time. I'm so happy. And of course, we want you to join in. So if it's your first time listening to us, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. If you're a subscriber, if it's your first time, hit the like button too. We appreciate it. Hit the notifications button. Just smash your face on the screen. Hit all the buttons. We appreciate you joining us. B, how you doing, man?
I'm good, my man. Good day overall. Nice. It was nice and cool finally, man. It's been hot here in the Bay Area. So we finally had a nice, decent fog lay over our coastal line here. So I finally cooled down, to say the least here. But can't complain, man. Life is good. Sports is good. What more can we ask for?
Exactly. And just so folks know, I am more further north in California, where it's quite hot all the time, and B is just now experiencing, what was it, 80 degrees?
It was. Well, okay. Look, I lived in Hawaii for a while, but for it to be 85 degrees at 10 p.m. at night, I was a little frustrated with that, man. And you shouldn't be going to bed sweating. Let's just put it like that.
All right. Well, y'all, keep my boy in your thoughts. Let's go ahead and we're going to start a GoFundMe for some AC. GoFundMe for B some AC so he don't
I got
burn
natural
up.
AC right now, man. It's nice and foggy where I live, so natural AC is good right now.
Right.
I can't be mad.
Perfect. All right. Well, without further ado, let's hop into it. We're gonna shout out some birthdays. We'll start with a very special one. My son's birthday was actually October 2nd. My oldest son turned 14 years old. That makes me feel quite old.
Yeah.
But yeah, so happy birthday, son. Even though I've already told him a few times. And B, you got one too.
Shout out to my father. Yes, sir. It's my dad's 65th birthday. Happy birthday to my dad. The old man went for a motorcycle ride, to say the least. Did some old man chores around the house, and now he's watching Sunday Night Football with the family. As I am here in my room doing a show for you guys, which I would much rather be here than down there.
All right. Well, happy birthday to Pops Lay, and
Yeah.
cool. Well, let's jump into it. Let's see what we got. We'll start with a quick update. Yeah, let's give a little Sacramento State update. Obviously, we have a listener whose son plays for Sacramento State, Brandon Knott, who's a defensive lineman for Sac State. So Sac State currently 4-1. Actually had a win over who they play. Was it something Arizona? Now you gotta look it up.
Northern, I think it's Northern Arizona. If I
Northern Arizona, and they got the job done. So kudos to Sac State. Again, 4-1 overall. They will play Northern Colorado next. We'll be keeping a close eye on them, and we'll see how everything turns up. I didn't get a chance to look up, see if Brandon's stats.
Brandon had a pretty good game. I think he had a solo tackle and assist, if I remember correctly here. So
Brett,
way to make an impact on a game. They only won by one, so it was definitely a close game against Northern Arizona.
Yeah.
So kudos to them for getting that big time victory there.
Absolutely. Yep. So kudos to Brandon for a tackle and an assist, and hopefully we continue to see more production, and we'll do a little chime in every show to see how Sac State is doing week to week. All right, so let's jump into the NFL, and man, this was a tough one. It was tough. It was both a tough game and tough to watch all at the same time. The Ravens and the Steelers end up coming away with a win late, 17-10. The Ravens started off pretty strong and were actually up 10-0 in the first quarter. But that all kind of fell apart. Game really bogged down and turned into somewhat of a defensive struggle. Pickett kind of struggled a little bit, but then came on late. Jackson played well. Except for the end,
No, he didn't.
All right, I'll turn it over to B. This is,
He didn't. he didn't play well, dude. No, didn't break 300 yards. No touchdown rushing or passing. One interception. You let Kenny Pickett outplay you today. You let Kenny Pickett outplay the entire defense, to say the least. There, this is what killed the Ravens last year, and I was swearing it wouldn't happen this year, and I swear it's happening this year. Um, there are two losses, two blown leads, leading to losses here. You can't if you want to be an elite quarterback, you cannot go over in the end zone. You got to find a way to get your team to the end zone there. I mean, 10-0 in the first quarter, you're like, okay, everything is grooving. Defense is moving good. Even when the defense starts giving up, that offense is too good against the Pittsburgh Steelers defense that's, for lack of better terms, terrible. Um, you can't go over in the touchdown category if you are Lamar Jackson. And he was getting the runs. It sounds terrible to say it like that, but he was able to get his way
It was.
on the field there with his legs and chose to get away from it. And it's like, dude, when push comes to shove, you have to have a design run from one of your best players there. And Rashad Bateman was back, OBJ was back. Um, you really weren't heard from those guys. So this was not a pretty game for for the Ravens, and it showed off to it. So they got to find a way to be better. Let's just put it like that.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it was again a tough game to watch. I saw it was 10 to, what was it, 3 or whatever it was for quite some time. And we talked about the up and down of Lamar and the whole red zone thing where those red zone interceptions are the worst ones, or red zone turnovers. And yeah, it really got them this time because that was their opportunity to finish this game. It was the very
Yep.
end of the game. There was about, I think, maybe 4 minutes left in the game. So that touchdown probably gets you the win. Instead, it's an interception. That other team gets life, goes down, and score a touchdown. So I know Lamar ain't feeling good today, but hopefully he can work on that and try a little bit better next time. But yeah, man,
Yeah.
tough loss, tough
I'm
loss.
just dude, and now they're in a two-way tie for first with the Steelers. They're finally going to get back home, so hopefully some home cooking. But these kind of losses can't happen, man. And like Lamar's put under that microscope because he signed that large contract now. So you have to deliver on these large contracts, and these are the games that plagued the Ravens all last year, and it's plaguing them this year. This team should not have any losses on their record. They should be undefeated right now, and I'm not saying that because I root for them, but because they have entered every game in the fourth quarter with a lead. It's you can't be blowing these kind of games this early in the season because that just makes for how the rest of the season is going to go.
Yeah, man, and we talked about this last year too, and you said the exact same thing when they went through most of the beginning of last season, which is they should have been undefeated, and again they find themselves playing to the level of their competition, and that's not a team that's going to win a championship. That's not a team that's going to win playoffs. So playoff game. So yeah, man, Lamar's going to be, like you said, under a lot of scrutiny. You sign the paperwork. You're going to get that Jordan Poole treatment. Maybe they should sign Draymond so you can punch him, get back into gear.
I thought OBJ would at least punch him. I mean, he
OBJ ain't doing nothing.
OBJ punched the kicking net, and it came back and punched him right in the face. So you
I
figured he'd
remember
punch him,
that. Oh man, that dude ain't helping
But I
nobody,
mean,
man.
hey, no, he's not. And it's
He's
like,
not helping
dude, there was
anybody.
all this talk about him coming to Baltimore to partner up with Lamar, and we barely heard from the man.
Yeah,
It's
no,
like it's
no,
driving me
no,
nuts.
it's not. Anyway, man, let's move on to the next game. This game was actually a pretty good game for most of it until we got
Yes.
into the fourth quarter where the Bengals were able to pull away. So that's the Bengals against the Cardinals, who I actually picked the Cardinals to win as one of my picks, and I lost. So so the Bengals end up winning this game, and this had to be the best Joe Burrow game where he looked like himself. He was able to get the ball down the field. He looked agile enough to escape pressure and make plays. Um, I mean, Jamar Chase actually looked like Jamar Chase and just completely murdered the Arizona Cardinals secondary. I'm gonna pull up his stats in a moment here, but B, did you get a chance to catch this game? And what did you think about the Bengals in this win?
The Bengals offense that we all have been waiting to see finally showed up today. Um,
Exactly.
their two playmakers and Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase finally had that signature game here. But now it is carrying that through to get that balance back, because just because you've had one breakout game, you still need to have a second breakout game to go with it as well. So they gotta maintain it. Not saying that they can't, but it's just 1-3 to start the season with that kind of offense, with that kind of team, to say the least. And Arizona was coming off of a pretty high ride here. They were
Yeah.
playing some good football. The record may not show it, but Arizona was actually playing some decent football, to say the least here. So they this loss, if they would have lost to Arizona today, they probably would have been saying it's against Arizona. Arizona was a pretty decent football team for the start of the season. The record doesn't show it. They've actually had some good improvements, to say the least here. But that'd be interesting to see how long, if Cincinnati can get back on track to continue on.
Well, the good news is they're not too far off. I mean, your Ravens keep dropping games. The
Thanks for the
Steelers,
reminder. Appreciate it.
Steelers are right there, obviously with a tie, so they're not far away. And again, this was a win that was needed by a team that couldn't afford to lose any more games. Quite frankly, if they had have gone 1-4, I mean, with such a young team too, we're not talking about a team that's on its tail end of its of an era, or they're
Yeah.
older and maybe it's time to refresh. They can't hit the reset button. This is the reset, so they've got to find a way
Hmm.
to make it happen, and they found a way to get a win today. Hopefully they use that as momentum to carry them through. Joe Burrow, we talked about the game he had. He 36 for 46. They threw the ball a lot. 317 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. And Jamar Chase, who finally has showed up after the first 3 weeks of doing 2 weeks, yeah, 2 or 3 weeks doing nothing. 15
Nothing.
receptions, 192 yards, 3 touchdowns. Thank you, Jamar, for showing up to the party. So yeah, so good on the Bengals for really. I honestly think this was a game they had to have to really secure the
Yep.
future of their season. So the pressure was there. They got it done. Big ups to Dobbs, who's continuing to try to show himself as a starting quarterback in this league. Played fairly well. The game was close for a while until the bitter end there. So I'll give him a little bit of props. But this was definitely a game for the Bengals coming out party. We'll see if they can continue.
Well, I think now the question is we talked about it last week, is now that the season is kind of, the Cardinals only have one win. How much longer do you run with Dobbs when
Yeah.
Murray comes back? Because at
Yeah.
some point you're gonna have to make a decision on that.
Yeah, I think they got to throw Murray in there. I think that's what will end up happening, and then based on what happens, then maybe they have some decisions to make. I mean,
Yep.
I'm sure if Kyler Murray comes in about halfway through the season or a little bit later, they're going to give him the benefit of the doubt. Maybe he even gets to start most of next season. But if after next year they aren't showing any type of potential, then yeah, you're probably right, man. I mean, we might be looking at Trade City. You know what I mean? This might
Trade,
be
but in all
might be
honesty,
Kyler Murray's out.
who's gonna trade for the league shortest quarterback? You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah, I don't know.
honestly,
Hey,
he's not shown that he can win at a high level, because remember, they started 8-0 at one point, and then
yeah.
all over
Hey,
the
fuck.
season, and never and then didn't make the playoffs after that. So what are they gonna do to really kind of maximize this? Because they have some really good young talent on that team. What are you gonna do to kind of capitalize on that, to try to build towards the future?
Yeah, and that's the problem. Murray is the future. So that's where you find yourself in that catch 2022 where you drafted this
Hmm.
guy to be your franchise quarterback. You paid him to be your franchise quarterback. And now, he's one sports bra away from not being in the league. And so they've got to be able to find a way to get the guy back out on the field so that he can
Oh
remind
man.
so that he can remind people of how talented he is, because if the only thing we see is pictures of him with whatever that it was he was wearing. We're, I mean, it's like the Zion Williamson thing. We don't want to see you doing
Yeah,
one meal dunks in high school gyms. We want to see you on the field making it happen. So we'll see, man. We'll
exactly.
see. We'll see how it goes. And
And
let's.
what do we got?
Oh well, we got the Niners and the Cowboys who are still currently playing. The Cowboys are moving the ball a bit. However, the Niners are up 21-7. So they got a little bit of a lead right now. And speaking of the Niners, we talked about it last week about Christian McCaffrey and how he's he's looking like he's having what we could almost call the start of a Hall of Fame year. Uh,
MVP.
yeah, MVP. So I think
Yep.
he's definitely pointing in that direction. We'll see. We'll keep you guys. We'll keep you guys updated on how the score is going with this game as it's going on live as we speak. But right now, the Cowboys are moving the ball. The Niners are up 21-7, and the Cowboys are. It's going to be hard for them to score. So we'll see if they could get in the end zone and make this a game. I'd rather not watch a blowout, but we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I mean, they've only fed us this game all
Oh
week
yeah,
about
oh yeah,
how these teams were relevant in the '90s and everything. And the last thing you want to see is a complete blowout in this game here. I would like a close game. Me personally, I like a shootout for fantasy reasons, but just the early kind of look at this game is the Niners defense. At this point, the offense, you know what you're getting, especially with Christian McCaffrey. But the Niners defense is finally going up against a pretty good offense in the Dallas Cowboys here. I'm not saying they're the greatest offense, but that's a pretty solid offense that they're going against, and they're making them look stupid right about now here. So again, hold a whole half of football to play. We'll be cashing it as soon as our show ends here, but the Niners defense is just, dude, that's just nasty, man. They're just ball hawks out there.
yeah, yeah.
They don't make it easy.
They're a nasty bunch, man, and they get after the ball. I think on offense, one thing to talk about too is the fact that Brock. We talked about this before. Brock Purdy is going to get better, you know, and he had one
Yeah,
play today where he's on the run going right, fires the ball about 15 yards into the end zone to uh, why can I call his name, to the tight end
Kittle,
to Kittle for the
Kittle,
touchdown.
yeah.
Jeez, I'm forgetting. So yeah, man, the guy, he's continuing to improve and continuing to be a better quarterback as time goes on, which really is scary for the rest of the league. So,
And I had an interesting conversation today.
all right,
Someone said that that Brock Purdy's the guy. I said he's trending that way. So he doesn't have to prove much anymore. He could prove he can win. That's a given fact. But he will be put to a test against a certain team come towards the end of the season. Not my team, but the team that they lost to in the NFC Championship game. Those two teams are on a collision course
yeah,
uh, for a pretty big showdown to determine who's the number one seed in the NFC. And that game is going to be in Philadelphia. We'll talk about the Eagles in just a sec here, but we didn't get to see what Brock Purdy could do under those lights in an NFC Championship game. This is about as close to the NFC Championship as you're going to get that night game against the Philadelphia Eagles
yeah,
here. So, all good signs are pointing towards Brock Purdy. They have the quarterback of the future. I'm not taking that away from him. He's showing he can do it in this league, but he can do it against the defending NFC champions, to say the least, and that is the Philadelphia Eagles.
yeah. And then you're also curious to find out how will their defense play against a mobile quarterback. How will they play against a
Mm-hmm.
quarterback who has running plays called for him. So it'll be interesting to see. And I think you're right, man. They are on the collision course. It happened last year with the injuries that really kept us from seeing what would have been an extremely entertaining NFC Championship game. Unfortunately, it didn't
Oh
turn out
yeah,
that way.
oh yeah,
But I'm excited to see these two teams go head to head and get after it.
yes.
Yep.
Um, Speaking of the Eagles played the Rams, and this was a game that we put on our. It was semi-close, but the Eagles really just dominated both sides of the ball today. The Rams offense really couldn't get anything going. I caught most of the game here, and man, it was just methodical. It was nice to see Cooper Kupp back on the field.
Yeah, he
I
played
think he had
well.
about eight catches for 118 yards today, I think.
Yep,
Um,
he played well.
so it's going to be interesting how him and Puka coincide in this offense now, and how are they going to be able to make both of them a legit threat down the field here because in essence you got two identical wide receivers. How can you share the ball between those two?
Yeah, well, that's what they're gonna have to figure out. I mean, Cooper Cup had 118 yards. Nakua had 71. But the more threats you have, the better. So I think
Mm-hmm.
that's good for the Rams. I guess the deal is the Ram are the Rams do they still have enough prime players that are still playing in their prime? Let's say because you got your Matt Stafford, and and do they have enough to get them back to where they were? And I think the answer is no. I don't think the Rams they won this championship fair and square. They got it done, and I think they're I don't for them to get back to that is going to take a little bit more talent around. But Nakua has definitely been a revelation for their team. But I don't
Oh,
think they're going to be good
100%.
enough to. I mean, the Niners and the Eagles are too good, and I don't see them. I don't see them competing with those two teams.
Well, and the other thing too with that there is um, they don't have any real good draft picks coming up, to say the least. They traded
So they
most of
traded
it
all of them.
to
Yeah,
push for, yeah, to go get that championship. So it's great, you've got your title, but it's not going to look too good when your team starts to fizzle out and there's not much you can do. Then you can start signing players who are league minimum players who you're not going to get a whole lot of out of, to say the least.
yeah, yeah. And I guess we should mention that Philly is 5-0 right now, and
Yeah,
the 49ers are the only other undefeated team, I believe, to go
in
look
the
at the
NFC.
record. So in the NFC,
Yep.
so yeah, this is a big deal, and the 49ers are trending towards being able to or winning this game. They're up 14 points with the ball. Um, well, but about a minute left in the half, so we'll see what they do with that. But yeah, like you said, collision course. I'm ready for it. I hope they collide because I want to see people get hit. I want to see a good defensive, game, and or
I
just a
want
good
to see
game in
I
general.
want to
Honestly,
see what that hype. I want to see a full 4 quarters between these two teams.
yeah,
I don't want to see Christian McCaffrey throwing the ball as a quarterback. So I definitely I don't want to see that.
that was
Drunk,
terrible.
welcome into the show, our brother here. Good to see you here. Hope you're having a great Sunday. He chimes in and says Brock Sturdy is actually a monster. The guy's a great quarterback, and I've said it before, and I'll continue to say it. It's the time that you play before you get to the NFL and how you develop leads to the success here. He got blessed with a great opportunity in San Francisco with all the weapons that he has provided to them. But you still need to be a pretty smart quarterback to be able to use those weapons. Um, you don't see a whole lot of bad throws from Purdy, and I give him that.
Yeah,
I honestly will give him that. He's a very smart quarterback. But all quarterbacks have bad tendencies. We haven't really seen them from Purdy, but eventually they will show. We just don't know when it's going to happen. But for now, I think Niner fans should be happy that they got themselves their version of a Joe Montana or Steve Young, since that's who they've been waiting to come through the door.
well, I won't go
You
that
know,
far, but I do think, like I said earlier, he's improving every week. So we have to remember this is only his second year. So what you see is
yep.
just a small This is the first version of what he'll be. He'll continue to be a good player. But the only problem is he's playing for the 49ers and he's going to be judged on playoff wins. So once they get into the playoffs, they're going to have to get it done. You start losing too much, and we've seen this time and time again with whoever was there, Kaepernick, Jimmy G, Alex Smith. If they're not going to be able to push you into the Super Bowl and get that win, then people start to wonder.
Yeah, no, nobody wants regular season wins. It's about what you could do in the postseason here.
Right.
If you're gonna get to the playoffs every year, that's a track record that you're gonna follow. But what are you doing in the postseason that's gonna allow you to make that turn? So that question obviously will be answered come January, February,
Absolutely.
um, for the Niners. But let me ask you this question here. I'm just gonna kind of start some drama here. Remove half of the weapons that the Niners have from that offense. Is he still the same quarterback?
Well, I mean that speaks
It's a
for
legitimate
itself.
question.
That speaks for
It's a
itself.
legitimate question.
He's not the one necessarily running that offense. We know that this offense is created by Shanahan. It's something that has worked over the past 3 years, 5 years, whatever, however long it's been, and there have been different quarterbacks playing within that system that have found some success. It works. What I will say is that he is showing the aptitude to be able to make plays. That's the one thing. So he can at least get out there and make plays. Whereas I thought with Jimmy G was just taking what was in front of him. He wasn't necessarily going to break the pocket and make some grand play to help you get that big first down or big touchdown. And I feel like Brock's got a lot of moxie, so he shows the ability to get out and make something happen where maybe there isn't, maybe the play that's called isn't working. He could still find a way to get things done.
Yeah, and he does go through his checkdowns. So there's a lot of brightness there. But I mean, again, you take away half that offense, is he the same guy
Yeah, I mean
that
anybody's
that
offense,
we're
man. I don't
seeing
know.
now?
Yeah, I don't. I probably not.
Um, and Drunk comes back with us here and says, the Giants are bad. When I see a Monday Night Football ad for next week, Thibodeau was the screenshot player. But you're not going to show Saquon Barkley because he's out. You're obviously aren't going to show Daniel Jones because he
He's
looks.
trash.
I don't know what the hell's going on with him. So your next best player is the guy who's on defense, and
Yeah,
he's not even performing that well, to say the least.
they might as well just put the logo or the helmet up there and just leave it at that.
Exactly.
And why even bother trying to put somebody's face up there? Go ahead and just put the helmet there. We know who they are. Nobody wants to see him
The
play.
big blue losers. That's
Yeah,
exactly who they are
man,
here.
that guy got that money
And
and
then
ran. He might as well just talk about stealing. Him and Russell Wilson. They stealing all kind of money. I don't know. They're not
they look
doing
like
anything.
they look like the two from the movie Tower Heist with Ben Stiller and Eddie Murphy. They look. That's what they did. They heisted both teams for these stupid contracts and have completely under delivered, to say the
Yeah, they
least.
ain't doing anything, man. You talk about a loss, man. That's terrible. Well, hopefully the Giants start to turn the corner at some point. At least start to look like a respectable team. But it doesn't
Yep.
help that you play in the same division as the Philadelphia Eagles and the Cowboys and even
And
Washington. You know
yes,
who?
even the Commanders.
Yeah, who aren't? They're not great, but hell, they fighting. So I mean, to be at the bottom of that dog pile, I'm sorry. It might be a wrap before it even starts for y'all. Maybe they need to change their name. I don't know.
To the New York Little Giants. And if you guys haven't
Great
seen
movie.
the Little Giants movie, it is a
Great
fantastic
movie.
movie. You berserkle Barbie dolls. The
That's right.
insults in that movie are just great. I love it. And then Drunk comes back. I haven't seen Brock make a bad pass since he's been drafted. Correct me if I'm wrong. I mean,
Well,
he's probably had a couple bad
yeah,
passes, but we don't talk about it because he takes it away with the rest of the way he plays the game.
yeah,
So, but every quarterback has a bad pass. The only way I know that, I have to watch Lamar Jackson every Sunday. And talk about a man who throws a lot of bad passes but gets away with it with his legs. I think you see the same with Brock Purdy here. But in this tonight, under this spotlight, Sunday Night Football against the Cowboys, a technically rivalry game, would you say? He's been nothing but short of perfect, and I'll say that it's the truth. He's been nothing short of perfect so far in this game.
yeah, man. Well, he's getting it done. So kudos to him. And man, the Niners have to be one of the luckiest franchises in the world to be able to have quarterbacks on tap just to walk in and
Jesus,
continue
I
what you were
know.
doing. I mean, it's ridiculous. Usually, stuff like this happens to teams. It's a mess at best. But for them to
Mm-hmm.
lose Jimmy G, who had played in the Super Bowl, to put all of their they put all their chips in with Trey Lance, who got injured and didn't work out, and then here comes this guy, Brock Purdy, blast Mister Illegitimate or whatever they call him, isn't it? Is it illegitimate? Not illegitimate.
No, no,
Miss
not
Miss.
illegitimate, man. I think his parents may. I think his parents were pretty sure they wanted him, Mister
I
Irrelevant.
don't know.
Oh man,
Yeah,
Mister
that's
Irrelevant.
Mister Irrelevant. Golly. I hope his parents aren't watching. My
Oh
bad. I'm sorry,
shnikes.
Mr. and Mrs. Purdy.
I'm
I'm
pretty
sure his parents love him.
pretty sure they're at the game right now, so we're the last people that they're probably thinking of right now. But the child is Mister Irrelevant. Okay,
Mr.
we'll correct
Mr.
ourselves
Irrelevant, which
there.
I don't know if that makes me feel any better, but whatever. But to have that guy come
Every,
in and compete the way he is, I mean, you're the luckiest franchise in the world. There's no other franchise in the league where their third string quarterback's going to come in and give them good minutes.
honest with you, and I think you need to give a little credit to Kyle Shanahan too.
Yeah,
To get a guy to succeed in this offense here. It's a complicated offense to say the least. And watching how the Niners handle it. You know it's complicated. And I'm not saying that no offense in the NFL is complicated. This is a much more structured system that they run here. So to have Kyle Shanahan have the right moves to make sure that his quarterback could thrive, you got to give Kyle Shanahan a little bit of credit for that as well.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely, absolutely.
And I was about to say, let's talk about the dumpster fire tomorrow night on Monday
Oh
Night
man, why
Football.
don't get in my well, yeah, okay. I mean,
Do it.
Packers Raiders playing in Las Vegas, fun times. The Packers are coming off a win last week, right? Didn't they beat the wait, who they play? Was it
I
Atlanta?
think they lost last week.
No, they lost. I'm
I think
trying to
so.
see. Let me go back and see who they played. I'm trying to remember who they played and if they won or if they lost or whatever. But
Anyways,
Jordan Love has
they
looked pretty good, and the Raiders secondary has not looked good. And so I think this will be an interesting game because Jimmy G does come back. You got Josh Jacobs, who, to be quite honest, has really underperformed. But Devontae Adams, I think Devontae Adams is questionable for this game. The hope is that he'll play. He did practice, so the hope is that he's going to be out there on the field. Jimmy G's been cleared. He cleared concussion protocol, so he's going to be out there. So we'll get a chance to see the full team, hopefully, and really start to grade the Raiders on what they could potentially be. I hope they come out there and really get it done against the Packers, make a statement. We're a good team. We can compete. I mean, look at the rest of their division. The Chargers and the Broncos are not very good either.
ass.
And so, there is an opportunity for the Raiders to make a little bit of noise, and they really have only got a couple of games or 2 or 3 games to do this, to put themselves back into some type of contention,
Yes.
or at least make
Yep.
the games watchable, so that I can get behind them, watch the games, and say, okay, Jimmy G, make something happen for us against a very young Green Bay Packers team. But you never know. With as bad as the Raiders secondary has been playing, with Jordan Love playing pretty good, you never know what can happen.
Well, and I think the bigger question, I think for this game for the Raiders tomorrow night, how does Josh Jacobs get used this tomorrow night? Because
Who
they got to
knows,
get him
man?
going.
Yeah,
They got to get him going. Look, if he doesn't want to play because he thinks that 1 year deal is crap, then sit out. Stop wasting your team's time. Let Zamir White start getting those runs
yeah,
because they deemed him as QB or RB1 before they decided not to anymore after they signed Josh Jacobs. But Josh Jacobs isn't giving me anything that honestly says RB1. If he has another lackluster game, I think you start Zamir White next week and send a message to him. You're like, hey, if this is how you're going to play against us, we got a better option right now. So we're going to go with Zamir White. And that boy is hungry, to say the least, because he had his starting job ripped from underneath him.
yeah. And I think what they should do is just mix it up a little bit. They really just need to make sure that they are giving White touches along with Jacobs, like you said, just to help create that competition, but then also to
Mm-hmm.
give up a little change of pace, and put some pressure on Jacobs a little bit to let him know that, hey, you're not getting all the carries because obviously that's not working. We got this
Nope.
nice young running back here that's we want to get him the ball, see what he can do, and really it's for the betterment of the team overall because they need some competition at that position, in order to help generate some progress here with the run game because we can't rely on Jimmy G to step back and throw the ball 50 times a game. I just don't think that's unreasonable for Jimmy. I don't think that's not his game. That's not the offense that they run. That's just not going to work. And on top of that, the guy's thrown more interceptions than touchdowns. So you don't want him throwing the ball 50 times a game. You really
No.
don't. So
All
they
right.
got to get you got to get the running game going.
So what's your prediction for this game?
My prediction is that the Raiders will win. The Raiders win by 3. Let's say it's 24-21 Raiders.
24-21 Raiders. I
Yep.
picked the Packers Friday night in our Pick'em Dummies. So it'd be stupid not to take the Packers. So I'm gonna take the Packers. I'm gonna say it's a 28-24 game. I think it's gonna be pretty high
28 going
scoring.
for it. All right. So I mean, I'm down with that. If the Raiders can come up, put up a 30 spot, I'm all
Hold
for it.
on, I never said the Raiders were gonna win. I said the
Yeah, well,
Packers were gonna
okay,
win.
24, 20. You know what I mean. If they can come in and put up points, And I'm not watching Carlson kick field goals, 5 field goals or something crazy like that. At least it's respectable. That's what I'm looking for here.
Can
I'm not
we?
looking for a lot.
Can I bring something up here?
What's up?
Max Crosby is right now their best defensive player, but at some point your best defensive player is going to want to leave to go
Here
compete.
we go. All right.
All I'm going to say is this: there were some talks. They didn't really break the surface, but it was just kind of the rumor wind that kind of blew around. Tell me why the Niners made push to go get Max Crosby.
Well, first off, the
I'm
Raiders
just
are
saying.
stupid if they let that happen.
I know.
I don't, because there isn't a whole lot of assets that they can get from trading with the Niners. They need to be trading them to the most dog water team in the entire league so they can get some type of draft compensation. I don't see the point in trading them to a team that's that good. If they do that, then that's just dumb, And there have been some trades between these two teams or players that had played on both teams, like
Bill
Charlie Garner,
Romanowski.
Jerry Rice, Bill Romanowski. Yeah, exactly. So there have been some players that have gone from the Niners to the Raiders and vice versa. So I guess it wouldn't be a surprise, but for them to give up Max Crosby, the best player on their team, really, um, they'd have to get considerable draft compensation, I would think, to build for their future. Because at that
Yeah,
point, once you give that guy away, you're pretty much saying our season's done with. We don't care anymore.
I wouldn't really put it past him. Drunk with a few more comments coming in. I've never been a Josh Jacobs fan. He's Najee Harris with a contract extension. I'm petitioning the NFL to start booking Monday Night Football games we actually care about here. Dude, sometimes I think the Thursday night
Yeah,
games are
man.
better than the Monday night games. The last
Yeah.
one we had was the Packers and Liars, the Packers and Lions on
Lions.
Thursday night. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah. I completely agree, man. I think they're slowly but surely trying to transition the better game to Thursday instead of Monday because Sunday night is obviously the game. Monday night
Yeah.
football used to be a pretty that was it because there was no Thursday night game obviously. So that was the second one. Oh, Monday night big matchup, first day out of work. You come home from work. You're gonna watch Monday night football. Now
Yep.
here comes Thursday, which used to only be on Thanksgiving. Now all of a sudden the NFL has ramped it up and said we're gonna run a Thursday night game every single week. So yeah, I see what they're doing. They're trying to pump up their little project a little bit to make it watchable, but all in all, Monday and Thursday are trash. It's really all about Sunday night.
Yep. And well, right now the Sunday night games have been trash until we get otherwise. But I we didn't really keep our eyes on this game, but I know
Yeah,
this is just going to tickle you to death here. The New
gonna tickle
Eng-
me to death.
the New England Patriots took an
Oh, they got
absolute
oh,
ass
I,
whooping
I love it.
today.
I love it.
Combined over the last two games have lost 70-3. 70-3 over the last two games. And what did they lose today to? They lost
34
to the
nothing.
Saints. 34-0, making Derek Carr look like an absolute all-pro quarterback today,
Best quarterback you've ever
to
seen
say
in
the
your
least.
life.
So, with that being said, how much do you really appreciate the New England Patriots getting
I mean,
off the last 2 weeks?
if Belichick was wearing a wig, it would have flew off in this game. I mean, they got lambasted. They're 1-4. They're a terrible team with a 70-something-year-old coach who won't give it up. I'm really hoping that I'm hoping that this season puts Bill Belichick in the retirement home. This is it. It's over. It's done. We don't want to see it anymore. Tom Brady retired. Go ahead and hang him up, Bill. Just take off that. What was that? What do you have on that WWE Championship belt? Where he was
Yeah.
missing it. He was missing the Kyler Murray halter top to go with it. Need to go ahead and just retire, buddy. Just go. It's okay. Everybody loses a step. You know what I mean? It's
Let's
time to
put
it's
it.
time to quit.
Mac Jones may also find himself a new team to play for because he was 12 for 22 with 110 yards and two interceptions. That is a Terrible stat line for a starting quarterback. That makes Jimmy
I don't
G
know.
look like an all-pro quarterback himself. And here's where the efficiency takes place. Derek Carr was 18 for 26, again over 50%. So that's a good clip there. Even though he only had 183 yards, 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Keep
Lamar,
it simple.
you gotta have 300 yards. You could have had 180, but with 3 touchdowns, we would have beaten the Steelers. That's all I'm saying here. Efficiency would have been nice today, but kudos to Derek Carr, man. I think he's really finding his groove in New Orleans here, man. He's like the broken version of Drew Brees,
Yeah,
pretty much
well,
for them.
he's just your veteran quarterback, and that's kind of how he's playing. He's playing it safe, just trying to get it done. He's like Brad Johnson right now. He's just out there making simple plays, doing what he can. And yeah, I wish him the best. They're in a crappy division, so 3-2 is good. You know what I mean? He's going up against the likes of Baker Mayfield and Tampa Bay. I mean, seriously, that whole
Yeah,
division is absolute trash. So I think the Saints come out on top in that division, and I think we talked about it at the beginning of the NFL season. So yeah, man, kudos to Carr, man. I'm always a big Carr fan. He's a Fresno kid, so he played for the Raiders, obviously. So I'm glad he's having some success with the Saints.
yeah. And then drunk times 10. Belichick is a mascot at this point, man. He's
Absolutely, man.
basically, dude. All he is just pure entertainment for the post game microphone, pretty much. Because you ain't gonna hear him smile no more. In fact, Mac Jones may be driving him to retirement,
I
to
hope he
say the least.
does.
And
I'm waiting
then,
on the announcement, man. I'm happy.
and then he comes back one more time. Zach Wilson is better than Mac Jones. And speaking of Zach Wilson, we're gonna get into our picks right now. To say the least, we did our pick of
Oh
dummies on Friday
God.
night. So let's
Don't.
Taj, let's start with yours. You had the Eagles. Actually, you had a pretty good day today.
Let's see.
You had the Eagles -4 that covered.
Yep.
You had it, and that absolutely just annihilated the Broncos. You called it. That was a great call there. And then your clunker was the Cardinals +3 got absolutely
Yeah, they
mollywopped
got
by the Bengals. So 2 and
2 and
1.
1. Yeah, baby.
2-1 this weekend.
Man.
That's not bad. I am 0-1 right now. Obviously, I got the Niners covering the 3.5 right now. The Packers are +1.5 tomorrow night, and then the Texans lost by 2, and I had them +1.5. It's garbage. That goddamn half-point ruined me.
Where are they?
Jesus
Where were the
Christ.
refs? Where were the refs in this game? Where were the refs?
Where were they?
Golly, man.
I thought the script was written for Brian to go 3-0 this week in his pick'em dummy.
I'm telling
But I
you.
guess the NFL missed that damn memo.
They did miss a memo at the beginning of the season. They were too busy pumping up their Thursday night football games. Well, actually, you know what? We're going to transition over into the NBA.
I got to bring something up.
Okay, go ahead. What you got?
There are 2 bad teams. One of them. Oh, come on, CeeDee Lamb. Come on. Damn it. Anyways, Vikings yet again found a way to lose a game. 1-4, and the Broncos are 1-4. So out of those 2 teams, who's the best 1-4 team?
Between the Broncos and the Vikings? Oh, the Vikings. The Broncos are terrible. Oh my God, the Broncos are really bad, man. I mean, if you watched them play, I mean, Russell Wilson's back there running around like a chicken with his head cut off. He doesn't know his butthole from his forehead at this point. And their offense is trash. They don't have any wide receivers. Sutton, not that great. Jared Jeudy, and their defense is the worst run defense in the entire league. The Jets come out there and just murder them on the ground. It was bad. Like, I mean, they had Breece Hall looking like Barry Sanders out there, man.
Yeah.
He was like, skirt, gone. And, I mean, the man ran like a 60-yard touchdown. It was like on first down. He's like, skat. And then the whole Broncos defense parted like the Red Sea, and the man just waltzed into the end zone. I mean, I had Breece Hall on my bench for my fantasy team, man. I'm just like, why didn't I think to play him? You know what I mean? But I didn't think they. I guess I didn't know how bad Denver's defense really was, and I found out today.
We got a good taste of it today because The Jets offense wasn't really that great until
Oh
until
man,
this week.
I mean,
Until this week.
Zach Wilson looked good because all he had to do was hand the ball off. Man, he didn't even have to throw the ball. He was just like, nah, we gonna run the ball. Don't worry about it. The Broncos can't tackle. It's all good. It's all good.
It is. All right, take us out. What we got
All
next?
right, we're moving on into the NBA. You see the badge on my shirt here. Wrong side.
Yeah, other side, sir. Other
uh,
side.
and, as y'all know, I'm a big NBA guy and a big Laker fan, of course. So, and our teams got together to start the preseason off. So, we'll talk a little bit about the preseason game. There was not a lot going on. It's preseason. I mean, this isn't going to dictate what neither one of these teams are going to do in the regular season. But it is interesting to see, one, how Chris Paul looked playing for the Warriors, and two, what the Lakers look like with all the talent that they have, and where some of these guys will slot into the rotation. So I'll start with the Warriors. Or no, I'll let you cover the Warriors. I'll cover the Lakers. So I'll
Yeah.
start with my team, the Lakers. The Lakers did not play Austin Reeves or LeBron James this game. So they
Hey, how does Austin Reeves earn the LeBron James I don't need a
I
place
don't
during
know,
the
man. It's because
preseason?
he played in the
How did he
FIBA.
earn
He
that?
played in
How did he
FIBA.
earn that?
He played in FIBA, man. He played over the summer, so it
Nobody
gave him
give a
little
damn.
bit.
I want
Oh
to know how he
man,
got that treatment. LeBron must have said something to the coach and said, "Hey, my man, cool over here."
yeah. Don't touch him. Don't touch him.
Yeah, what in the hell?
Yeah, well,
Anyways,
he'll be.
go ahead. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
man. I think it was just because he played in the FIBA and they wanted to give him the opportunity to rest. But other than that, D'Lo came out looked good. Anthony Davis actually looked really good to start. Generally, he doesn't really play in these games. Let's just be honest. But he did come out and exerted himself and actually broke a sweat. So I did like that. As far as some of the other players that were added, Gabe Vincent looked all right. He was a little shaky, and you could tell he didn't feel as comfortable playing next to D'Lo, which doesn't make sense anyway. Just because they both do the same thing. I think Gabe has to
Yeah,
be the point guard, de facto point guard for that bench, and does not need to play next to another point guard. That didn't make much sense. He did hit a couple of shots, I think, in the second half. Played some pretty good defense against Steph Curry. Not that Steph was out there trying to, blow the socks off anybody. It's a preseason game.
yeah,
And then I have to say, Paxson, the center, looked very good. Set some really good ball screens. Played some really good defense. So I like what I saw from that. The one thing I didn't like about the Lakers was their offense. Their offense coming in, possession to possession, was pretty dogged. They didn't look good on the pick and roll at all. They didn't have much movement off the ball. So they really got to work on that and continue to work on that through the rest of the preseason. But having LeBron on the court is going to also help with a lot of that as well. So we'll see.
yeah. I would say so. um, Getting a chance to see CP3 in a Warrior uniform didn't look right, to say the least. We've been battling him since the championship runs, and now we got to root for him. You know what I'm saying? It's almost just as close to say as if LeBron put on a Warrior uniform, to say the least, with all the battles that they've had. But the offense, you're not going to see much. I'm more concerned about the bench because the offense production will be there for the Warriors. It's what happens when your starters come off the bench. Kuminga and Moody had really solid games, and I know it's the preseason, but it's the way they conducted themselves on the court. Moody is starting to show a really young veteran attitude for his knowledge of the game, and this is a guy who was a starter in college and came to the NBA and literally made a statement and says, "I'm here to learn until my time is ready here." Well, I think that time is going to be this season for Moody here because him and Kuminga will need to anchor the bench because realistically, it's those two, Gary Payton the second, and Rudy Gay. And Rudy Gay didn't really get a whole lot of run with the bench unit. He got run with the bench unit like
Yeah.
hey, we need you guys to just make replicate what LeBron would do or the likes of Damian Lillard. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I would like to see him into that second unit because that's a veteran presence that can get you 10
Yeah.
and 15 easily here. And you're going to need that off the bench because if Moody and Kuminga aren't providing that, you got to get it from somewhere else here. So I'm going to be interested to see what they do. Um, how they're going to handle the point guard situation with that second unit there. GP2 is not a point guard. Um,
No, of
you
course
you
not.
know,
Yeah.
so you're gonna have to really rely on CP3
Corey
and Curry,
Joseph. Yeah.
Corey Joseph, who didn't
Yeah.
see the court just yet.
Yeah.
But look, let's just be honest. I don't care. They could play 8 preseason games at home. I need to see some shit on the road. I don't want to
Yeah.
see any more home
All
games.
right.
All right. I don't. I don't care. Preseason, I'm not gonna be worried about the home games. Come regular season here, I all I care is about road wins. We all know Chase Center is a home court advantage for them. It's about what they're going to be able to do on the road and how these guys can take 24 points from Kaminga and give me at least 18 on the road in a hostile environment. That's what we want to see. Give me 24 at home all day, but give me 18 on the road. You got yourself a good bench unit there.
Yeah, man. I think it should be noted that the Warriors only won like I believe 11 or 12 road games last year. So yeah, that's where they're going to be
And
able to
that's being
separate themselves.
generous.
Yeah.
Absolutely here.
All right. Well, let's transition, and I'm going to set this one up for you, B. So the NBA excuse me, the MLB playoffs have begun.
Yes, they
Unfortunately,
have.
the Giants did not make it. However,
Thanks for the
one
reminder. Appreciate you.
one top. Hey man, you gonna remind me if the Lakers lose? So all right, I'm just letting you know. Damn. But one thing that came up was the Tampa Bay, who is also in the playoffs, were unable to sell out a home wild card game.
Yeah.
Um, in a brand new stadium. So tell me about this, B. What's going on with this, and why is this? I mean, well, it is kind of a big deal. You just build a new stadium in the playoffs, and nobody shows up. What's wrong with Arizona?
Well,
Or excuse me, not Arizona, Tampa Bay. What's wrong with Tampa Bay?
Tampa Bay literally just got the rights to build a new stadium, right?
Yeah,
So there should be all this excitement. This is coming off at the end of the regular season, going into the playoffs, right? And Tampa Bay is hosting a 3-game series to move forward into the playoffs here. They never sold it out. Not one game out of those 2 games that they played in Tampa Bay, not one of them was sold out.
yeah,
Dude, ESPN had to do a damn good job to hide the upper deck because the upper deck wasn't even halfway filled across the way there. There were too many empty seats to be seen on TV. Dude, imagine going to Crypto.com Arena for a Laker playoff game and only seeing what 14,000 people there.
that would never happen.
But that's what I'm saying though. It's you can't have these things happen when your city is trying to build you a new stadium.
Yeah,
It cannot happen, and they allowed it to happen. They should really reconsider about building that stadium for them. If it wasn't for the Wander Franco issue, I swear to oh come on, Ayuk. If it wasn't for the Wander Franco issue, that may be a different story. But at the same time, you still got to support your team. I'm showing up to a playoff game if I got tickets. And I'm pretty sure Tampa Bay is not charging an arm and a leg to go
no,
watch their team play. So this is an embarrassment to the Tampa Bay organization, to the Tampa Bay fans. You cannot call yourself a fan and not go support your team when they're chasing for a championship. That is every team's goal is to get to the playoffs to go win a championship.
yeah.
And now you've done the work, you're there, and your fan base isn't there to support you. It's really embarrassing to see something like that happen to a team that fought their way into the postseason through the worst kind of publicity they could have ever asked for.
Well, man, I think, at that point, you got to give those tickets away. You can't let it show up on TV as being empty. You got to find a way to get somebody in those seats. And I know obviously it's a playoff game, so they're more expensive. They should be a draw. But if they looked at their ticket sales and they saw, hey, we've only sold this amount and there's that many open seats, they better go find the nearest, I don't know, school or somebody's school
Bro,
or business and just start giving them away.
Those streets,
I mean, there's no
handing
way
that shit out.
there's no way you can allow that to happen. You cannot allow that to happen. That is embarrassing. And to be honest,
Then you want to build a new stadium? Stop.
Florida's a weird place, dude. Florida's a real place. I mean, from one part of Florida to another, it's a completely different attitude and atmosphere. And if you're not in Miami or something, might not get the draw, or maybe the Orlando area. You might not get the draw you want. Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay. Let's be honest. None of us know anything about Tampa Bay, and it's not a place that
No,
we put a dot on to go visit if we're going to Florida. I'm not trying to be rude. I'm just saying. But
no,
it's
but
not.
you got to make it a draw. And when the city says we're going to give you guys a new stadium, and you go and respond to that kind of news, dude, you know what? I'm good.
Yeah.
You guys ain't getting the stadium until you show us why. Look at Oakland.
Yeah.
I'll bring that up. Look at Oakland.
Yeah. Unfortunately, absolutely, that's what happened. That's exactly what happened. Oh man. All right. Well, let's move on to a different topic. We're gonna kind of make this open conversation and comment on something that recently occurred. Olympic runner Noah Lyles had something to say about the NBA and the fact that they call themselves world champions. So I'm actually gonna see if I can pull up the audio here so you all can hear exactly what this young man who is a sprinter for the USA. I just want to mention that in case folks are like, "Who the heck is no Noah Vonleh?" No Miles. B, can you still hear me pretty well?
I can hear you well. Let me just set it up for you like this. George Kittle with his third touchdown today. I love it. Anyways, let me set you up with this here. Nobody mentioned something about a team winning the championship. The only reason why he said it is to bring attention to himself. So, see, when you're ready, go ahead with that, my
All
brother.
right, I'm gonna roll that right now.
The NBA Finals, and they have world champion on their head. World champion of what? The United States? Don't get me wrong. I love the U.S. at times. But that ain't the world. That is not the world. We are the world. We have almost every country out here fighting, thriving, putting on their flag to show that they are represented. There ain't no flags in the NBA.
All right, well, let me
Okay.
plug my headset back in, folks, before we start getting on this young man about whatever the heck he's talking about here. So I'm going to start here first. B, number one,
Please.
the U.S. created. I mean, we didn't create the sport, but we own it. We own the sport of the NBA, and there is not another country in the entire world that's going to put out a starting five that's going to beat the five best American-born NBA players. There isn't. And the idea that the NBA shouldn't call themselves world champions because other people with flags don't want to, go ahead. Go ahead. I'd love to see China, Japan, India. Who are all these countries with these people that are coming to play against LeBron James, Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, Joel Embiid? I mean, who else? We could throw some other names in there. Our bench team, Dame Lillard, whoever you want to call out. I think it's laughable. I know it's funny. The young man's trying to get some FaceTime. He's trying to tell some jokes. He's up there like a stand-up comedian, cackling and stuff. And the news media is eating it up because they think it's hilarious. But at the end of the day, the reason that the NBA can call themselves world champions is because there isn't another country that can put out a starting five that can compete with the best American-born basketball players. That's a fact, folks. That's a fact.
Mm-hmm.
The U.S., the only reason that foreign players play basketball is because we started it. That's the only reason.
Yep.
They didn't just
Absolutely.
pick up a basketball 50, 60 years ago and go, yeah, this is a great idea. No, they didn't. No, they didn't. They watched U.S. players play and then fashioned their game after the NBA players that they watched. Okay? And yes, there are some great players that came up, foreign players. They're great foreign players as well. But the only reason they in the game is because it's a game that we've already created. It's a game that's already been put to the test. And so when you come to play against the best in the NBA, you know you're playing against the best players in the world. Everybody knows that. I'm not saying anything that people don't already know. So I think this young man, although I understand what he's trying to say, which is that, oh, well, we're in the Olympics, so since we're in the Olympics, we play against everybody. But, for instance, sprinters, right? He's a sprinter.
He's a what?
A sprinter.
A who?
He runs real fast like this.
Okay. And I
Um,
thought you said something ridiculous.
he also knows that every country in the world does not have a sprinter competing. He knows that too. And do you know why?
Mm-hmm.
Because they all can't compete. That's why. Only certain countries compete. And that's it. So yeah, I mean, it's pretty much been the U.S. and Jamaica, and maybe England sometimes. I mean, let's try not to pretend like everybody in the world, like, oh, we are the world. No, we are the competition. And if you can't compete, then you don't win. That's just the way that works. So that's how the NBA goes. That's how basketball is. And I think it's a little bit of a short-sighted statement to make. It might sound good in theory, but in action, it don't work.
This has to be one of the dumbest things I've ever heard an amateur athlete say. Let me make sure that is clear. Olympic athletes are amateur athletes, okay? There is no professional, I need to run as fast as I can for 9 seconds league that's out there that's sponsored by Nike, okay? Let's put that to rest there. Why would you come out and say something like that when literally NBA is probably mixed up of the most international players a sport can ask for? It literally has guys from all countries, all different countries of the world playing here in the NBA. They are not playing in their home country. They are coming to the United States to play at the highest level, which is the NBA here. FIBA, again, that's a world championship right there. But the NBA is a world championship because it's a global sport. It is not just an American-based sport. You know where his argument probably would have been valid? Football, our version of the football. That argument is technically valid because the NFL doesn't have any other teams outside of the United States, right? So it's a value argument that you would say there. Yeah. But you can't attack the NBA when literally the NBA is the biggest global sport next to soccer. It is the biggest global sport next to soccer, and you want to sit there and take that away here. The Olympics are done every 4 years, right? Yeah. You may not even qualify for the Olympics. You know what I'm saying? The NBA is every year. Every year, guys go back to their home country to go play in a championship. Ask Brittany Griner, her home country of Russia. She was going back to play in that.
I don't know if it was
Let me read you the. But... I know I was being a jerk about it. But let me read you Team USA's potential roster for next year. All right, we're gonna start with the obvious: LeBron James. All right. Guess who's the other option to go play for Team USA? And he's not even from the United States. And that is Joel Embiid. Yeah. He's not even going to play for Team Africa. He wants to come play for Team USA, right? Number 3, Kevin Durant, one of the most prolific scorers this game has ever seen. Number 4, Stephen Curry. Number 5, Anthony Davis. 6, Jason Tatum. 7, Devin Booker. He probably is going to come off the bench. 8, Damian Lillard, another guy coming off the bench. 9, Draymond Green coming off the bench. 10, Bam Adebayo could easily be a starter coming off the bench here.
Yeah.
Anthony Edwards, who just got done playing in FIBA and got a taste for the world game. So he's going to have that experience. Mikal Bridges, again, played for FIBA as well here. So you tell me out of that 12 that there's a team from another country that stacks up with that 12.
Yeah, probably not, man. Probably not.
No one.
Probably not. And, and we've already been through this with the Redeem team, and, the NBA took its eye off of the Olympics because it wasn't that big of a deal. And, they switched up. And let's not forget that originally it was for amateur athletes only, and that we were sending amateurs or college, i.e. college players, to play in these for quite some time, okay? So, again, I think that I understand what the young man's trying to say, but, man, don't get it twisted. It's not the same. You sprinting against Jamaican sprinters is not the same as the U.S. It's not the same as folks competing against, the NBA. Like, you've got 2 or 3 good countries you got to look out for. You're not playing. Yep. Yeah, the whole world has a chance to compete against you, but all of them don't make it. And that's what the NBA is. The NBA is everybody's got a chance, but not everybody makes it. So no matter where you are from in the world, if you play in the NBA, you are the best in the world. Go ask Giannis Antetokounmpo. Is he going back to Greece to play real quick? Is he going back to the Greek league? Because that's where he came from.
Yep.
to join the NBA because it is where it's where not only the money is, but it's where the talent is. So yeah, man, I don't know, man. I think dude was tripping. He's a little high on himself. Or something. I don't know what happened to him, but
That had to be one of the dumbest things
yeah,
I had
shut up.
ever heard.
And he's an American. And he's an American. Well,
Yeah.
why are you getting at the NBA? You know what I mean?
If he wasn't a sprinter, his mouth wouldn't be saying anything like this.
Yeah.
So just stop with the stupid talk, man. Just that was so stupid when I heard it, man. I was like, you gotta be kidding me. There's the reason world championship is because of the diversity from other countries that come play in one sport. There's a reason why it's called the world championship. It's not called an American championship. All right. When sprinters race against each other in America, yes, that is an American championship because you're only allowing Americans to compete in it.
Right.
But the NBA is allowing international players to come compete at the highest level. So you call it a world championship, you idiot.
Yeah.
God. So I'm good. I'm good now.
Yep. All right. So we had to put a little fire on that. Yeah, man, I think we definitely want to cover that. But yeah, and I'm gonna follow this guy a little bit more just to see, because I gotta be honest with you, the Olympics is when next year, so
Yeah.
I hope this guy's good. Because he's talking about, I got my flag on my chest. Now, if he get out there and get his ass kicked by another country,
You are.
I ain't trying to hear that, man. I ain't trying to hear that. We ain't gonna get up here and talk about the best NBA players and then go out and be the third best at my sport, at your sport. I don't think so, man. So he better be good at what he do. That's all I'm gonna say.
Because if we don't see his ass walking anywhere in Paris, he better keep his mouth shut for the rest of his amateur career, to say the least. Jesus.
Oh man. All right. Well, folks, we're at the end. We don't have. I don't have anything else, B. So
I got it all out of my system. I'm good.
We're gonna ask again that you subscribe. If you like what you're hearing, hit the like button, hit the notification button. We appreciate you joining us, and we will be back next week to talk about more foosball, more football, and then also we'll cover our Pick'em Dummies next Friday. So Friday we'll post a video covering our picks. And then Sunday we'll be back at 6:30. And so hope y'all enjoyed. We will be back next week.
Yes, sir. Everyone have a great night.
All right. Have a great night.